In the last session, we tested P2P cycle. Today, we'll start with the receivables. So these are the basic setups we need to complete to start with the receivables application, transaction creation, and the receipt creation. We'll see one by one. First, we have to set up receivable system options. From payable side, we have configured common options for payables and procurement. Similar to that, from receivable side, we have a receivable system options, which will control receivables functionality. The concepts what we implement within the receivables, the concept related controls, what are the topics we are going to implement accordingly, we can set certain controls. That we will come to know when we start picking one by one concept. Okay. So receivable system options we have to set at business unit level, and here we will provide certain default information. Let's see that. Go to our implementation project. If not implementation project, directly from this FSM page also you can access. Select financials, search for receivable system options, manage receivable system options, click on the same task. When you submit rapid implementation sheet, the sheet can create receivable system options definition. So again, if you are doing the setup through manual process, you have to click on create, select your business unit and provide required information here. But you don't need to do that since we are using the rapid implementation sheet. The sheet itself can complete receivable system options. We have noticed common option setup completed by rapid implementation only. System option setups also, you could see it is already completed by system. Manage receivable system options. Let's look for our business unit. In this list, what are the BUs you see? For these all system options are available. That is the meaning of it. If you don't see your BU in this list, you may search. When you are searching, again, it will look for the full name of the BU. So equals, change it to start with. Check. If you are able to see your BU in this search field, it means system options are already configured for your BU. If you are not able to find your BU here, you have to click on create and you have to complete the system options. Now click on BU name. So you have a system options, the required accounts and all system is taking. But anyway, we'll be working on the various concepts or many concept related controls you have to set at the system options level. So many times we'll be revisiting the system options. That time you can understand what are the different controls we can set. But we have to make sure that the system options are available for our business unit. Then create transaction types. In payables, we created different transactions. Invoice, debit memo, credit memo, prepayment. Different concepts we created. Different transactions we created.
Lakshman, one question on system options.
Yeah.
So I understand that the account part that it was coming from the rapid implementation, but then there were other options that were check marked. So how system is selecting those?
No. Those by default Oracle is providing. Even if you go to common options also, which are not coming from the rapid implementation. From rapid implementation, only accounts will come.
Right.
If you go and open any page, there will be certain default information Oracle provides. Such kind of information which you see there.
Okay, okay.
That is not coming from anywhere. That is by default. Oracle is providing that. You can change as per requirement. We'll see when we are dealing with the different topics we come across.
Okay.
Yeah. So in payables, directly you can create the invoice after completing AP basic setups. But in the receivables, if you want to create the transaction type is mandatory. Without creating the transaction type, no transaction can be created. You want to create the invoice transaction, create invoice transaction type. You want to create the debit memo in the receivables, create debit memo transaction type. You want to create the credit memo in the receivables, create credit memo transaction type. So any transaction you want to create in the receivables, transaction type is mandatory. Without transaction type, no transaction can be created. Let's see how to create the transaction type. We'll be able to understand what is the purpose of it. Search for transaction types. So manage transaction types. Click on manage transaction types and click on create. Reference data set, select as a common. BU level we given common. For most of the reference data objects, reference data set is common only. For our transaction type also use common. BU level we have common for transaction type reference data object. You no need to select legal entity. Based on the business unit, system can identify the legal entity. Here you can name it as Alt INC invoice transaction type. Transaction class, we want to create transactions for invoices. Select transaction class as invoice, and with this class you can create the invoice. Transaction status. If you want to use this transaction type to create the transactions, always select transaction status as open. Rest all doesn't support to create the transaction. Select open. When you create the transaction in the receivables, here transaction invoice transaction is nothing but sales invoice. When you create the transaction in the receivables, do you want system to allow with a positive amount or negative amount? That's set as a creation sign. Okay. Since it is invoice transaction we want to create, it should be positive sign. And generate bill. Do you want to print this transaction? If yes, select as a yes. Generate bill as means you want to print this transaction. By using this transaction type, you create invoice, customer invoice that you want to print, set to yes. And few checkboxes seriously we have to understand. By default, system is showing open receivable, post to ledger, and natural applications only. What does it mean? If I disable open receivables and with this transaction type, if I create one transaction against the customer, the transaction balances cannot be updated against the customer. So I'll create transaction with 10,000. Customer name is ABC. By using this transaction type, I'll create one transaction against customer ABC with 10,000. If this checkbox is disabled, after creating the transaction, if I go to that customer and if I check how much balances we have, it will show 0. It will not show the outstanding amounts with that customer. If you enable, after enabling this checkbox, if you could use this transaction type to create the transaction against any customer, if you go to customer account, the 10,000 it will show as outstanding. Otherwise, no. Okay. Always this open receivable should be enabled so that customer account will updated with the transaction amounts. Post ledger is nothing but with this transaction type, if you create any transaction, do you want to create accounting and transfer to GL? If yes, enable post to GL. We are not enabling. By default, system is enabling. You should accept. Natural applications only. It means with this transaction type, you may create the transaction with the 10,000. You may receive the 20,000 from the customer. But transaction amount is 10. Max you can apply 10,000 only. That we call as natural application. If transaction amount is 10,000, if you want to apply 20,000 on that, means customer has to pay 10, but customer paid 20. You are adjusting 20,000 against customer due of 10,000. In that scenarios, we use over application. Generally, it won't happen. Always natural application. So customer has to pay 10,000, but customer paid 20, you take it. You apply 10 only. Remaining 10, you keep with you in future, that can be adjusted. But 10,000 transaction, 20,000 receipt, you cannot adjust. Max, you can apply receipt up to transaction amount. That we call as natural applications. So these check boxes we should aware. And now this transaction type we want to use in which business unit. To the BU, we have to assign this transaction type. Here is the option to assign. Click on plus icon and click select our business unit. Okay. Alt INC US business unit. Automatically system is taking all these accounts. Just notice, you don't need to do anything. You can see all accounts are optional. No account is mandatory. Where these accounts can be useful, we will come to know during the setup process itself. Okay. When you do few other setups, you'll come to know. But remember, at the time of transaction type creation, system is deriving many accounts for specific BU. For this BU, it is fetching all these accounts. Okay, when transaction type means we are going to maintain all these accounts transaction type level for specific business unit. Just make a note. Again, these accounts are optional. Still, we will discuss where these accounts can be useful if you want to use. How system is taking all these accounts? These all accounts in the rapid implementation sheet, there is extended tagging. That is the reason it is taking. Say okay. So this is how we can create the transaction type. The same transaction type you can assign to multiple business units. You can click on add and select another BU also. Okay, you can assign. We can assign one transaction type to multiple business units. Now here say save and create another. Cancel. Retry. Alt INC. Invoice transaction type. Class is invoice. Status is open. Bills, yes, you want to print. Assign transaction type to business unit, say okay. Say save and create another. So we create a transaction type for invoice. Let's create transaction type for debit memo. We'll discuss what is the purpose of debit memo, credit memo, and other transaction types and receivables when we perform those transactions. For now, let's see how to create. Alt INC debit memo. Status is open. Creation sign. In receivables, debit memo sign is positive only. Payables, debit and credit memos are negative signs. In receivables, debit memo sign is positive. What is a use case? In which scenario we use it? That we will discuss when we create the debit memo. Set generate bill as a yes and assign the transaction type to RBU. Say okay. Save and create another. Alt INC. Credit memo. The transaction class is credit memo. Status is open. And credit memo sign is negative. Select negative sign. Generate bill set as yes. Assign transaction type to business unit. Say okay. Save and create another. Select reference data set as a common set. Now we are going to create transaction type called a chargeback. Alt INC. We'll discuss when we create this chargeback transaction. We will talk about what is the purpose of the chargeback transaction. For now, let's see how to create it. Select as a chargeback. Status is open for any transaction type. And chargeback is equal to invoice transaction only. How, when, we will discuss. Creation sign would be positive sign. We want to generate the bill. Assign transaction type to RBU. Say okay. Save and close. Done. So any transaction you want to create in receivables, we create transaction type. What we are setting at transaction type level, the transaction type for which type of transaction, which class of transaction, invoice, debit memo, credit memo, chargeback. Do you want to print or not? What is the status of it? What is the sign? And the natural applications. And this can be useful in which business unit. All controls we are setting. So you can say with the transaction type, we can define the transaction process. The transaction type, we can define the transaction process. Now we'll see.
Sir, one question.
Yeah.
If you're putting a common set, that means it can be used by multiple BUs, right? So if you're in the reference account, we are putting particular BU. So can we not select the particular reference data set in that case?
So different reference data set you can select if you are maintaining. In that case, you select transaction type level, separate reference data set. The same you assign at BU level also for the same reference data object.
Right. I mean, we'll have to link that reference data set with that view.
Correct. In that case, it
Okay.
will be okay.
Okay. And there is a option like no future date. So does it mean that we cannot create future dated transaction for this transaction type?
What is that? No?
No future date, some chronological document sequencing.
That is something. No. That is a document numbering related. Because in receivables, where you create the transaction, system will generate the numbering. Okay. Apart from that, if you want to generate additional numbering, that you call as a sequential numbering.
Okay, so it will not have any impact on future dated transaction, yeah?
No. It will not
Okay.
have just so chronological means the meaning is say I'll create transaction today. I'll give in transaction number. System will generate or you may enter. Apart from that, you are generating some additional numbering. Okay. Today you generated one number as a 1. After this 1, with the number 2 you may generate with the today date or tomorrow date, right?
Right.
But number 2 should not be past date.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Today you generated number as 1 for one document.
Mm-hmm.
2 should be today date or tomorrow date.
Tomorrow date, not
It should not be
before that.
yesterday date.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Past date. That is we call as chronological. Yep.
Okay.
To set such kind of control, we use that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Lakshman, Vinay here.
Please.
Yeah, sorry, I joined late. Just my question is, like starting with the receivables, do we normally we do the basic setup of rapid implementation and we can start directly the receivable activities, right? Or we need to perform other
No, we have to
activities?
perform these setups. Okay. So rapid implementation once done, we know there
Okay.
is a scope what it can create. In the receivables point of view, the system options setup can be completed by your rapid implementation. Remaining all this we create.
Okay, yeah, that's what. From basic setup is rapid implementation, right?
Yeah, basic always for any application, basic fundamental
From
setups
AP
are completed by rapid.
From AP side, we need to do anything for this to moving to the AR. Do we
That's
need
what we are seeing. We are discussing the same. If you want to implement receivables, system options should be available. You have to create the transaction type. You have to create the transaction source. Auto accounting also system will create. We will see that. But anyway, we will remove that. There is a possibility you can remove. And we will create so that we will understand the remaining setups also. When you implement receivables, what setups we have to complete? Even use the rapid implementation sheet, which already we used, we are discussing. Yeah. This
Okay,
setup
okay.
system completed because of rapid implementation. Payables common option system completed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The same way receivables system options can be completed by rapid implementation process. Rest almost we have to create. Transaction types we have to create. Transaction sources we have to create. Auto accounting configuration partially system can complete. Remaining we have to complete. But we are going to remove everything and we will redo so that we can understand what is the concept of auto accounting. Remaining all we have to create. Here again another setup also system creates receivable activities. That also we will see how to create for our understanding. Yep.
Hi, Lakshmi. Hello.
One second, let him complete. Is that make sense? Vinay?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, please.
Hi, Lakshman. What is the functionality of allocation override application functionality in the transaction types? Could you elaborate on that?
Oh, see, what is required, I'm just covering. If anything else you want to understand, you can explore on that. You can go to help and all. So those ideally not required, which are primary, I'm touching. Even we are not enabling system and is enabling. So we are touching. Those all you no need to understand all those points. Alt INC. Okay, you can just go with this help or anything you can understand, but which you should aware, that I am touching. Yeah, tell me what you are asking.
No. Actually, what is happening? Over application is applying. What is that functionality actually? Even I am not understanding. Not all also. It is applying actually under
One
the
second. Say you have a transaction type called as Alt INC invoice, right? This is your transaction type, right? You created.
yeah.
By using this transaction type, Alt INC invoice with this transaction type, you created one transaction. Transaction amount is 10,000.
Yeah.
Yep. This transaction type level, which checkbox is enabled? Natural application only, right?
Yes.
Right. Now what I will do is, here customer is ABC. Within this transaction, customer is ABC. Now ABC customer paid 20,000. Okay. ABC customer paid 20,000. Now customer has to pay how much?
10,000.
10,000. Now I will apply on the transaction 10 only. From 20, I receive 20. I'll apply 10 on this transaction. This balance will become 0, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I want to apply this 20 on this 10,000, not possible. But
By
if
the
you-
natural application,
yeah, that is natural application. How much
Yeah.
customer has to pay, that much only you can apply. Now, if I enable allow over application, customer has to pay 10, but I can apply 20 on 10. Customer has to pay 10,000, but customer paid 20,000 for 10,000. That is over application, right? It's over more than what customer has to pay, customer paid. That you can apply also.
Yeah, that's what actually in the customer statement, how it will show. It will be show as a customer statement is fully closed, right, in the system.
Yeah, fully closed, and it will show this receipt as a 20 is applied.
I think his question is the remaining 10,000, how it will go? It goes to on account.
No, that's what. It's on account means we don't need to discuss. That is possible with this only. Allow over application only.
Yeah, he's asking.
Natural application only. What? See, the point is, if you take 20 received, 10 you applied. Now remaining 10 will be available as unapplied.
Yeah.
Now if you enable the checkbox, allow over application, 20 is applied on this transaction, it will show. 20 applied. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what actually.
It won't go to on account. That's very clear.
It will not go to it will not goes to on account, but thing is over application, your transaction will be closed. Any new transaction is coming to apply this remaining amount, it won't be open. So in the back end, how it will be
See, it will
adjustable?
show 10,000 transaction for that. 10,000 is applied. This is the reality. This is how we have to do. Okay.
Yeah, that is natural
10,000.
application.
Yeah. I'm coming to that part. 10,000 transaction, 10,000 receipt is applied. If you go to receipt shows 10,000 applied on 10,000 transaction. In case of over applications, it will show 20,000 applied. 10,000 transaction, 20,000 applied. It will show transaction is closed and receipt 20 also applied. Doesn't make sense, but that's how it system will accept. That's what we have to understand. It won't be.
That's what actually.
It won't
Why
show
this
on
option is
account,
there?
etc. It will be showing
That's what
as applied.
Yeah, why this option is there exist? That's what I'm also not.
Correct. Oracle given if some customers are paying for a 10, 20 or 12 or 13, you can use. I never seen some client used it. Nowhere we use it. Just they given like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Fine.
Lakshman, can you upload today class? We joined late.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Fine.
Lakshman, one more question. In the
Yeah.
reference date, like when we create the transaction type, we are adding BUs, right? One by
Correct.
one.
We are
like
assigning
multiple
transaction type to business unit.
Yeah, the main company value will be not considered there,
Can
right?
you be a
Only
bit
the
louder?
natural
Can you be a bit louder? Your voice is very low.
I'm asking only natural account will be considered, right? There, because the company is common, right? Through reference data, like rapid implementation or anything you do, all accounts are populating there, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Those you can change also. See, that
Okay.
since rapid implementation, it takes first value for any segment, right? So now if you are assigning the same transaction type to another BU also,
Okay.
for that BU, which is a proper balance and segment value, that we have to select.
Okay, thank you.
Lakshman, can you show the invoice classes in the transaction types window?
Yeah, tell me, like, what is your question?
No, how many transaction types we have?
Same.
Credit memo, debit memo, charge.
Invoice, one second, invoice, debit memo, credit memo, chargeback. There'll be one more called as bills receivables. Bills receivables, nobody is using these days anyway.
Okay.
Bills
That's all.
means like a customer, instead of giving the check, customer will give the bill with some date. So we have to wait till the date, or else you can discount the bill in the bank.
Okay.
We call as bills receivables. Bills, don't compare with the payables, bills payable. Payables, bills payables means that is check future dated payment. Here receivables, bills receivables is not a future dated payment from customer. This is altogether different story, which is not being used these days.
Okay, got it, Lakshman. Thank you.
Invoice, debit memo, credit memo, and chargeback. These are the primary transaction types. Now, by using any transaction type, if you are going to create the transaction, we need to generate the numbering. For number generation, we use the transaction source. So with the transaction type, when you create the transactions, to generate the numbering, we have to use transaction source. With the transaction type, you can create the transaction. We can set all sort of controls at transaction type level, or you can say with the transaction type, we can define the transaction process. With the help of transaction source, we can generate the numbering for the transactions. With the transaction source, we can define the numbering. Let's see that. Transaction sources. Click on create. For each transaction type, we create separate transaction source. Select reference data set as a common. The transaction source for invoice transaction type. So source name is Alt-INC. Invoice transaction source. The same take as a description. Take from date, today date or past date. Everything is fine. And we want to set number generation for which transaction type. Select the transaction type here. Alt-INC, invoice transaction type. By using this transaction type, when you create the transaction in the system, what should be the number? Okay, last transaction number. Okay, ideally it should be as a next transaction number. The label name should be next transaction number. Okay, say 1. And say save and create another. Same way we have to set for debit memo, credit memo. Alt-INC, debit memo. When you create the debit memo transactions in the system, what should be the numbering system has to generate? Select Alt-INC, debit memo. For a debit memo also, you may start from 1, or else you may start from 1001. Any starting number you can set. Save and create another. Reference data set is common.
Lakshman, the numbering is alphanumeric we can do or only numeric?
Only numeric, because it's automatic, right? If it is a manual, if you disable this when you are creating the transaction, system will allow you to enter, then you can enter anything.
Oh.
Yep.
And what is the type that we are showing? Type is manual, right?
What is the type?
After name description, type is there,
Okay,
right?
type. How you are going to create the transaction? Are you creating manual, or else you are getting the transaction from other application?
No.
Yep. We are going to create all these transactions within the receivables only. There will be another type called as imported. We will come across. We have a concept for that.
Okay. Okay.
Credit memo. This we call as source type. Source type. Manual. Credit memo. For credit memo also I want to start from one only. And save and close. You no need to create transaction type, transaction source for chargeback. Chargeback we no need to create. Even you create, you cannot use it. That Oracle providing the same we have to use. You see here. Oracle is providing source for chargeback. The same we have to use.
Sir, if we are using the same transaction number for invoice in CM, will it allow? I mean, in that case, the number would be same, right?
Transaction types are different, right? Total.
Okay, so for different transaction type, the number can be same, but within that, okay.
Yeah. Within the same transaction, same, it won't allow duplication. It's across. Type itself different. Number can be
Okay.
same across. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lakshman, can you go to the source again, source form? In that, there is a copy the DFF to the credit memo, right? Is it when you apply a credit memo to the invoice, it will copy the DFF?
Which one?
Copy transaction information flex field to credit memo below source detail, source defaults. Yeah, that.
Copy transaction information flex field to the credit memo. Yeah. So if you enable the checkbox, okay, so it will just copy the information. Like when you are creating, say you create a transaction with the 10,000, you are applying the credit memo on the transaction. 10,000 transaction, you are reducing 2,000. When you are reducing the transaction level, whatever the information you have, okay, so the additional information, it will copy to credit memo also.
Okay. Allow duplicate transaction numbers when we can checkbox.
Allow duplicate transaction numbering. See, you are entering the manual numbering. You are not using automatic.
Okay.
Then you can enable this.
And for same customer, it will not allow, right? Different customers only it will allow.
The same customer, it should be unique. Yes. Same. See, by default, same customer. Here, you see, here it's not point of customer. Here, point of the combination of transaction source and type.
Okay.
By using this transaction source, if I use this for specific transaction type, unique numbering.
Okay.
When I'm using the invoice, alt INC invoice transaction source with the specific transaction type, if I'm auto generating, okay. But if I'm not auto generating, I can have transaction source and transaction type. I can say within that allow duplicate number. Okay. It is not point related to customer within the combination of source and type. With this source and with this type, if I'm going to create the transaction, allow, customer can be same or different. Here there is no point of customer here.
But how do we system will recognize, because two records will be with the same
No,
data set,
generally you
right?
don't use it. If you want to go with this, you can do this, system will allow. That's how they're given the functionality up to that extent. Okay. Ideally, you should not go with the duplicate numbers. That's all.
Here BU we cannot assign.
BU you are assigning. How you are assigning? Tell me. When you select transaction type,
Automatically it will consider from the
transaction type is
transaction
mapped
type.
with the BU, right?
Yes.
That's how it is. Not directly, indirectly. There is a link. Means this transaction type you can use for that BU only through transaction type.
Okay. In EBS, I think we are doing every OU level source and transaction types. Here it's simplified.
Yeah, correct. Here, they are coming here. Whenever you come to this page, you select your operating date.
Mm.
Right? Here, instead of operating it, you are taking the reference data set. That's all. That is the difference.
Okay.
When you come
And
to this page in EBS, you select your operating unit, right?
yes, Lakshman.
Rest all are same as it is, right? No difference.
Okay.
But here, what we are doing, instead of business unit selection, you are selecting reference data set, which will point your BU on.
Okay.
That's how it's slightly different, but
And
overall
what is the
same.
significance of that credit transaction source?
Sorry?
What is the significance of that credit transaction source field?
No, you can check, you can go through that help icon. So this is all like not required. If you are getting into that, we cannot complete this.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
So which is required, which you have to understand when you're learning that before you ask, I'm just touching. Yeah.
I was just getting confused, like when we are creating transaction source for
Use
credit
help,
memo.
you can find out. Yeah. Fine. So that's all about the transaction type and source. Okay. You create a transaction type and a transaction source. Now, so in receivables, when you create the transaction system, we have to create accounting. In AP, when you create the transaction, when you create the invoice, system is taking the debit account from the invoice distribution. You may enter manual process, or it may be from distribution side, it will take as a debit account. The credit account, liability account, it is taking from the common options or supplier side. From any one of the source it will take. By taking the debit and credit, it will create the accounting entry. But receivables system won't perform that kind of activity. You have to tell to the system. When you create the transaction, ideally, the accounting entry would be receivables account is debit, revenue account is credit. Now you have to tell to the system. The receivable account, it has to take which code combination, which company, which department, which account. Revenue also, which account code combination it has to take. We have to set up in the system for our business unit. Then only system can create accounting entries automatically. That we can set by using auto accounting rules. By using auto accounting rules, you can set rule so that system will create accounting entry automatically. To create accounting entries automatically, system has to take the debit account code combination, credit account code combination. So that you can set by using the auto accounting rule. The purpose of auto accounting rule to create the accounting entries automatically. If you want to create accounting entries automatically, first of all, system has to take debit and credit code combinations. From where it has to take, that you can set by using auto accounting rule. We'll go and see that. Okay, we'll go and see. When you use the rapid implementation sheet, system creates the auto accounting rules. By using that, system will create accounting, but for our understanding purpose, we'll remove and we'll create so that we can understand how that auto accounting rules can be configured. Go to auto accounting rules here. Search for auto accounting, maybe from the project or from this page. Manage auto accounting rules. Alt INC, search. So system created auto accounting rules for all these account types. Okay, for our business unit, auto accounting rules, BU specific. I'm going to delete all because system created what we can understand. We don't understand anything. Let's create. And I'm deleting all. Delete. Deleted all. Save and close. Alt INC. Check. No rule is available. Okay, those are all rules created because of rapid implementation. Now we'll see how to create the auto accounting rule. So when you create the transaction, this is a basic accounting entry, receivables debit, revenue credit. Apart from receivables and revenue, there are a few other account types also that we will configure after some time. Now, very basic accounts are these two accounts. We'll create the rule for these two going forward. Depending on the concepts, we have to configure other types also. Now, click on create, select business unit, Alt INC. We have multiple account types, but two are mandatory. Set those two. Two are mandatory to start with the transaction. We'll be setting auto accounting rule for all these types, but not now. After some time, we'll do that depending on the concepts. Select receivable. And here, provide. If you create the transaction within this business unit, system will take receivables as a debit. For this business unit, which company it has to take? Which company it has to take, that value you have to select here. 1000 it should take. If you don't want to set constant fixed account, you can say like this. So which is source, value source? You can say take company from the transaction type. When you say take company from transaction type, what system will do is it will go to transaction type. So you are creating the transaction by using Alt INC invoice transaction type. Here, if I say for this business unit, receivable account code combination, company take from transaction type. If you say like that, say user is going to enter the transaction with this transaction type. Now, for this transaction type, for this business unit, it will take company from transaction type. Transaction type level, which company we have? For which account? Receivables account. Here is the receivables account. From this receivable account, this company it will take. The same way, cost center. I may say transaction type. Now, receivables account field, which cost center we have, this cost center we have, it will choose. So we are telling to the system whether it has to take some fixed value or it has to take from somewhere. You can say, if this is a BU, for receivables, you take this company, take this department or cost center, or else you can say, whatever the company is available, okay, whatever the company is available at transaction type level for the receivable account field, take that only. You can set like that. Or else if not from transaction type, you can provide accounts in the customer site also. We will see when you create customer site level also, you can give the accounts. You can tell to the system, take that account from customer. In payables, the liability account it can take from common options or auto accounting, like customer supplier side. That we cannot set. That is system follow that precedence. First, it will look at supplier site level, not available, it will take from common options. But here you can give the directions. Not only entire code combination level, each and every segment value level, you can give the direction to the system to create receivables account code combination company. It has to take from whether from transaction type or customer site or constant. And sales representative not in the scope of receivables. If you are implementing sales applications, that this is possible. Otherwise, by default, we cannot use this. So this is how you can set for any segment from where it has to take that specific value, you can specify. Okay. So I'm just giving the constant values. If you want to give transaction type also, you can give it will anyway transaction type level, all accounts we have, it will derive. Anything is fine. Choose whatever you require. Accounts receivable. So any queries here, please? Okay. So within this business unit, when you create the transaction, receivables account will be debited. For receivables account, which code combination system has to take? So that you can give as a constant fixed code combination, or else you can say, so take from somewhere, or you take as a constant, but account always take from the transaction type. So this all code combination it will take as it is. In case of account, it will go to transaction type. Which transaction type you are using, it will go to the transaction type. So this is related to receivables, it will go to receivables account field. So only it will take account from here. This account it will take. Rest all it will take is constant only. That's how it works. Any questions to understand this point, please? Say okay.
Lakshman, only this way we can set up, or we have any like you know.
No other way. This is the way. Okay, this
No
is the
client.
way you can. If you want to override and all SLA, that is the next level. That's completely different. As per standard functionality, this is only the way.
But we don't have any client extensions like a technical team can do back end.
No. That is
Oh.
not there. You can go with SLA, right?
Okay, got it.
SLA. You go and write some rules over there based on requirement. If you have something else apart from which you cannot meet with this. Yeah. Say we are creating for account type called as receivables, and we need to create for one more account type called as revenue. These two are mandatory. You can start with the system. Later we'll create for remaining also. Okay. Click on create another. Select account type as a revenue. Set constant or value source. From which source it has to bring that you can set. Just pick any one of the account. And one more point. What you are setting, these are not permanent. What you are setting here, these will be defaulted when you create the transaction. Still user can change. These just to default only. Okay, user can change if required. We'll see all those when you create transaction. Select any one of the revenue account for our testing.
Sir, normally this revenue account we take from memo lines, right? Memo lines we give accounts and we
Yeah,
take.
you can take here memo line also another source. How you need, you can take from transaction type or memo line. Here, select memo
Okay.
line.
Right. Okay.
If you are not aware of memo line, we'll see. We have to do that setup as a part of receivable setups. We'll do that.
So Lakshman, when accounting rules are being created by rapid implementation, so those are also modifiable. Can we modify them also? Like if we want to keep
You
them
modify.
as it is.
Instead of deleting, you open it and you modify. By default, it will take constant.
Right. Okay.
You can change also. Now see, here we are changing, right? Now just one value is selected. You may save it. Now just we selected here for everything. 1 second. Done. So this is just say like auto account rapid implementation created the rules. Now you can change it.
Hi, Lakshman. Hello.
Yeah.
Lakshman, there is a class is there in the R12. We have deposit, right? In the Fusion, I don't think so. It is there, right?
Sorry.
The class, transaction class, deposit.
Oh yeah. In Fusion we don't have that concept.
Any
Commitment
alternative?
concept. Commitment.
Yeah,
We call it commitment. In EBS we have a commitments. One is guarantee, other one is deposit.
yeah.
We don't have in Fusion. Oracle not yet introduced. So this is how like system may create. Now you can select it. Okay. You can just go here and you can modify. Yeah, possible.
Okay.
So receivables and revenue we completed. These are very basic, which you have to complete. Otherwise, your transaction you cannot process. Remaining also will create. There is depending on the concept will create. The end of receivables will complete everything for all other account types also. Fine. So that's how you have to configure auto accounting rules for receivables. Now, when you create the transactions, we need transaction payment terms, and how often you want to send the statements to customer, and if you create transaction against any customer, for specific customer who would be the collector. So these details we have to provide for each and every customer. Whenever you create the customer, which payment terms are applicable to that customer or customer transaction, and how often you want to send the statements, and who is the collector. These details we have to specify. What we'll do is we'll create payment terms, statement cycle, collectors. Those all you can group into customer profile class. The customer profile class you can use for specific customer, so that this all will be applicable for the same customer. Okay. First we'll complete this. This all will group into the customer profile class. And when you create the customer, we will assign the customer profile class to the customer, so that these all will be applicable. That's how it works. So we'll create the payment terms. In payables, we have seen how to create the payment term. Do a similar task in receivables also. The payables payment terms cannot be shared with the receivables. Okay, you have to maintain separately. In many applications and many ERPs, you might have seen the payment terms can be shared across AP and AR, but in Fusion, not possible. So because certain details are slightly different Oracle given in terms of maintaining, that is the reason they just separated these definitions. So payment terms. Search for payment terms or receivables payment terms. Manage receivables payment terms. Click on the same task. Say create. Payables, what we did, we create payment term and that we assign to reference set asset. One payment term you can assign to multiple reference set assets also. But in receivables, if you notice, to create the payment term, you are selecting reference set asset. That means within the reference set asset, we are creating payment term. Okay, I'll select reference set asset. I'll create the payment term. This payment term I cannot use for any other reference. I cannot assign this to multiple. Okay, in payables, one payment term you can create, you can assign to multiple reference set assets. But here, one to one. One reference set, one payment term can be mapped with only one reference set asset. Maybe Alt INC, immediate. Select discount basis if you are going to get discount. So the discount should be applicable based on the invoice amount. Sometimes customer may pay partial amount. Okay, partial amount. If customer is paying the partial amount, that amount, how do you want to apply? That you can set here. In your transaction, the tax and freight also could be there. So you want to include the tax, the amount on the tax and the freight also, transportation charges. Say customer, there is one invoice with the 10,000. 8,000 is item amount, 1,000 is tax, 1,000 is freight, transportation charges. Now customer paid 5,000. 5,000 you want to apply on only item, or you want to apply the 5,000, you want to prorate across item, tax and freight. That you can specify. Okay. So include tax and freight along with the item amount. You apply on all the components which are there in the transaction. In case of partial, if it is a full, it will be applied everything as it is 100%. In case of partial payment, how that should be applied, you can select installment option. And since payment term is immediate, you can select days as a 0. Okay. And discount, you can create multiple levels. In payables, only 3 levels. In receivables, multiple levels discount you can create. Let's create one more payment term to understand that point. Select common reference data set. Alt INC net 45. Invoice amount discount is applicable. Prorate all. And 45 days. Discount. Multiple levels you can set. Say 10% discount. Okay, 10% discount is applicable if you pay in 5 days instead of 45 days. 8% discount we are offering to the customers if they can pay at least in 10 days. 5% discount if they can pay in 15 days instead of 45 days. 2% discount if customer can pay in 20 days instead of 45 days. Finally, 1% discount if customer can pay in 25 days instead of 45 days. Still, you can add multiple levels you can set, but in the payables, only 3 levels they given. And the difference between payables payment terms and receivables payment term is payables payment term, one you can create, you can assign to multiple reference data sets, but unfortunately the receivables, one payment term can be associated with only one reference data set. So save and close. Done. Now create statement cycles. How often you want to send the statements to customer? Do you want to send weekly statements to customer or monthly statements to customer? That you have to define with the statement cycles. Okay. Search for statement cycles. Manage statement cycles. Say create. So if you want to send monthly statements, Alt INC monthly. Interval, as we discussed, monthly, and select your business unit. So every month end we want to set. This is how you can specify. And create collector. Okay, who will be, just for information, like for every customer we have to assign the collector. Manage collectors. Just click on add. Give the name as, you may enter the person name. Just say Alt INC collector. select our username. Only employee user you can select. Alt-I-N-C. Select reference data set as a common set. Save and close. Now by grouping payment terms, statement cycle, collector, any other details, you can create the customer profile class. You may create different customer profile class. One may be good customer, another may be bad customer, other customer may be excellent. If customer profile class is excellent, you may give the payment terms as a 30 days or 60 days. And you will be assigning very nice collector who is very polite. And statement cycles also you may send every 1 month. You don't need to worry about it. The customer is very good. If you are creating the bad customer profile class, payment terms may be immediate, collector may be very bad, and statement cycle may be weekly once you may send the statements. So this is how, like, what kind of profile class you are creating: good, excellent, average, or bad. Okay. So based on that, if you are not calling like that, or else you may go with some other naming conventions also. You may not take always good, bad, excellent, average. You may have some other classifications as per your business, like how you want to classify the customers. Ideally, with the customer profile class, we classify the customers, and accordingly we'll maintain the payment term, statement cycles, and the collectors. That's it. Let's see how to create the customer profile class. Customer profile class. So manage receivables customer profile classes. Okay, manage receivables customer profile classes. So Oracle is providing one profile class in every instance. Okay. So before we go and create one profile class, Oracle is providing, that is default. This Oracle is providing. Okay, whenever you create new customer, system will use this automatically since the default Oracle is created. Okay. Now, so let's see how to create our own profile class. Click on plus icon. Say Alt-I-N-C standard. Select your collector here. Alt-I-N-C collector. Select your payment terms. Alt-I-N-C immediate. Select your statement cycle. Alt-I-N-C monthly. So this is how you can just provide information, and we'll be dealing with the different concepts. That time we'll come back to this profile class. We'll be setting, if you are dealing with the balance forward billing, we have to enable and we have to set level, etc. When you deal with that concept, we'll come back and we'll set accordingly any other information. For now, just provide the collector information, payment terms, statement cycle at your profile class level. So save and close. Now, so whatever the reference data set we are using as a common, that you cannot use when you create the customer. When you create the customer, you cannot use Oracle provided common reference data set. What are the seeded values Oracle is providing? Two values. One is common and other one is enterprise. If you want to use enterprise, you can use it. Or else you can create altogether new one. Okay. Altogether new one. So that you can see that. You can now, you know how to create the new one, or else you can use the enterprise, no issues. So what you can do is, okay, we created profile class. Now we will use customer creation time common.
Lakshman, one question on statement cycles.
Yeah.
So when we are creating that statement cycle, and in the end, when we are providing the statement date, so and say frequency is monthly, and it's a long-term customer, and we are like every month we are sending that statement. So do we have to select like multiple records, 12 lines, like per 31st January, 31st, 29th February, 31st March, or only one?
No.
we can-
See, these all we are defining as a plan. Okay. On which date you want to generate. You are making the plan. You are making the plan. Or else you create now, later you can come and add any point of time. At least current period that there should be some predefined date when you want to generate the statement. Okay.
So if we just give, for example, we are creating in February and we are giving 29th February. So for next month, system will automatically take as
No,
31st.
not like
No,
that.
right?
You have to
Okay.
define.
Have to
Yeah,
define.
everything you have to define because when, what date, see, interval may be monthly. In a month, when you have to define. It's not
So
a,
then we have to keep updating the statement cycles then, right?
correct. One time you create for 1 year in 2
Okay.
minutes, right?
Oh, okay.
That's all. This can be used for many customers, right? Many customers you can use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, in profile class, we are enabling the statements. So, I mean, that is enough, right? There's no program that needs to be done. I mean, enabling it profile class is enough, right?
Enabling.
Enabling it profile class, the statement thing is enough, yeah?
Yes, what we are doing is we are creating over there and we are specifying the schedules that you can select in your customer profile class. What you are referring as enabling.
No, my point is like if we have suppose we have assigned one profile class to the customer and the statement is enabled there, so that means the statement will go. I mean, there is no
No. When you assign the profile class to customer, whatever we have in the profile class, that will be copied to customer. It should be there. Something should be there. If you enable, it won't go. You have to specify, which you may have multiple statement cycles, right? Okay, it should be there in the profile class. That's what we did. We selected, right? We selected.
right.
If it is enabled, then it will ask you. If it is not enabled, it won't ask you to select. That is the point. Profile class level, there is a checkbox, enable. Then the field will open. Then only you can select profile class. If you disable, you no need to select. It will become
If
optional.
you've selected the frequency as monthly or I mean, every month the statements will go on its own.
No, you have to run that. You have to run that statement.
Run the state. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
automatically it won't go. Just you have to run that. Whenever you run, it will.
okay.
Fine. So we just created profile class. Now we'll go and create the customer. So from here you can find the customer task, create customers. Same as supplier, you no need to assign any role. Okay, to create the supplier, we assign supplier manager role. So that's our system allowed us to create supplier. But receivables point of view, no role is required. Directly you can access. So task is create customer. So just provide the name. Alt INC. Customer 1. And select the reference data set. You cannot find the common here. Common won't be available. Apart from common, you may create your own or you can just use the enterprise. Common you cannot access. Okay. You may create your own reference data set or use the enterprise. Let's use enterprise. If you are using enterprise at your customer level, the same you have to assign at your BU level also by using business unit set assignments task. We'll see that. So make a note, customer creation, we are using enterprise. Even you notice the fields as an optional here, but you should provide the data for site and provide for address line 1. Very important. If you don't provide address line 1, any text, there is a concept called as customer refund. it doesn't display your customer address over there. Okay, address line 1 field you have to treat as a mandatory. Otherwise, even if you don't provide address line 1, if you give the site name, you will be able to create the transaction. But we have a concept called as customer refund. When you perform the customer refund for your customer address line 1, there is no data. Now you don't see address. You cannot perform that customer refund. So make sure this field you are filling. Postal code. Select postal code. It will fetch remaining attributes. Say okay. Done. Okay. So customer information, customer address or site information we given. Now scroll little down. This is the customer address. What purpose we use this customer address? That purpose we have to set. Address purpose. Click on add. What purpose we need this address? We want to send invoice to this customer, to this address, bill to address. To the same address, we want to send the goods also. Means we want to ship to. If it is ship to address, this is a ship to address for which bill to address. Same above address only you can select. Okay, if you are shipping the material, billing goes to where? Same address that you are specifying. Now you can say save and close. Save and close. Now you can see system is creating the customer and the 3 records it created. This is the customer header information. The system created customer account and customer site. If it is not displaying, you can search and find here. Alt-INC customer 1 search.
Lakshman, what is the meaning of this reference data set enterprise here, and why
Well,
common is
I'll come to it. We'll see that.
Okay.
Next point. We are mapping.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have this site number outside, and then we have different site purposes number. So when we create a transaction, do we take the inside number or do we take this outside number?
What is that? Which number?
Oh, I'm saying that in the site we have this number, right? 1313482 site
Yeah.
number,
Correct.
and within this we have 2 numbers based on site purpose. So when we create
Where are 2
transaction,
numbers? Where do you find 2 numbers?
if you click on this site number, site purposes number, just
That is purpose is different. Wait. We'll see. We'll just see that. So site number is only this. Other things, you don't have something else as a site numbers. This is the only site number. Yeah. 1 second. Let me explain a few points. Okay. So this is
Okay.
how customer created. You see the customer structure. This is the customer header. Okay. And every customer will have a account. You can have 1 account or multiple accounts. Maybe this account for US, another account you may create for India also. You may have a multiple accounts, or else under 1 account also you can have different country sites. Under account, you will have a site. This is structure. Customer master will have a customer account. Under account will have a site. Under 1 account, you can have multiple sites, or else within 1 customer, you may have a multiple accounts also. By default, system creates 1 account. Now, so we created profile class. That profile class we have to assign to our customer. Click on account number. Click on account number. Now go to profile history. See what profile system is taking? Default. You cannot change here. If you want to assign our profile class, whatever we created, go to actions. Say correct record. Correct record. Here select whatever we create. So I'll complete what I should complete, then you can ask your questions. So this is how just you have to override the profile class. You have to override the profile class. Within our profile class, we have this custom collector. You can see this payment terms, the statement cycle. Yes, you are talking about this checkbox, send statements. If you disable it, you don't need to give statements you don't want to send. So this is how it will default. Now say save and close. And we need this profile class at site level. Now click on site number, go to profile history and click on create site profile. What are the profile we have at account level that is copied to site also? Copy. Now save and close. Save. Now go to site details. Okay, site details. Now it is not mandatory. This site you have to assign to your business unit. Okay, this site is assigned, will be assigned to your business unit with this reference data set. If this reference data set, if you assign at your BU level for reference data object related to customer account, it will be assigned. You have option also to assign, but not mandatory. So you have two site purposes. One is build to, other one is ship to. If you select build to, below it will enable that option. This site you can assign to your business unit. Only bill to site, bill to purpose. Now accounts it will take. In the auto accounting we have seen, take account from site, customer site. From here it will take. But this assignment is not mandatory. Even if it don't assign also no issues. I removed, but still it will work. So you no need to assign the site to BU. This site you can assign to BU with this reference data set itself. We'll see how that is. So whatever the site or reference data set you are selecting at customer creation time, the same you have to assign to your BU. Then this customer you can access from that business unit. We'll see that. Keep this as this. Go to business unit set assignments task. Manage business unit set assignment. So click on save and close. So what reference data set used for your customer enterprise? The same you have to select for the reference data object called as customer account site. Customer account site. So here what we have matching. What system will do is within this business unit, if you are recording the transactions, it will display the customers. For which customers the reference data set is enterprise. Customer account site, which value you are selecting reference data set value, enterprise set. Enterprise set is selected for how many customers, only those customers will be displayed. This is a matching. This is a mapping we have to. Okay. So say save and close. Fine. So this is a point we have to understand when you create the customer. Okay. So when you create the customer,
it is still
customer
not
you can
clear.
associate to the business unit with a reference data set. So any questions here, please?
Lakshman, this is still not clear to me. Can you please explain again? Like customer creation, we are putting RDS as enterprise, and
Right.
then for reference data object, we select customer account side, and we again put RDS as enterprise.
That is
So
a
like,
mapping between the
yeah.
BU and the customer. That's all.
So what is the meaning of this mapping, like exactly?
See, you have a four customers. Customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, customer 4. You have BU1, BU2. Okay. BU1 level, you have a reference data set as a 1, RDS1. Here RDS2. Where customer account side, RDS, reference data object. Just now we have seen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now I want to assign these two customers to BU1. What should I do? Tell me.
Okay, so then I would assign RDS1 to C1 and C2.
That's it.
Okay.
Exactly. I want to assign all to these two BUs.
Then RDS1 and RDS2 or both for all four
No.
customers.
Make it only in two cases RDS1.
Oh, okay.
For this 4, you select RDS1 only. Right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
These
got it.
4 will be assigned to these two BUs. That's how it works.
Got it. Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So that's how we create the customer and the customer site, etc. So remaining setups will complete tomorrow.
Sir, one question.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so the customer account and site are based on created based. For example, a customer has 5 branches, so based on that, we create the sites normally, right?
Correct. You are right. Same.
Oh, okay. So, when we create a transaction, I mean, the purposes are defined based on the activities that we want to do with a particular site. So, if they want to send a bill, that means we'll define a bill to purpose.
Purpose that we set as a purpose. Yes, bill to or ship to or just contact or communication. You can set any value over there.
Okay, so when we create transaction, like there are
Bill
two
to.
numbers, right? So we'll take the inside number, right? When we create any transaction.
Yes. Bill to is required. Bill to mandatory when you create the customer.
Okay.
Because at least you have to bill, right? If you are providing services, you may not ship, right? Bill to
Yeah.
is mandatory all the time. You may not have ship to, no worries. You should have a bill to.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.